Hello everybody, my name is Coda, and welcome to my new survival world. As you saw by the introduction clip, I kinda died in my hardcore world. I was pretty upset about it, but 119 was just a couple days away, so I held out, and here we are in a new survival series. So I hope you stick around and join me for this journey. This survival world should be around for a long time, and let's get started. I started off punching trees, just like every other Minecrafter does on their first day, but punching trees gets boring pretty fast, so I moved on to punching other things. Then I upgraded my tools and I headed out to sea. The first ruined portal I came to, I got this enchanted golden apple from. There was a shipwreck right next to the ruined portal, and I was quickly reminded of how good the loot can be in these shipwrecks. And that you could get even more loot and possibly even diamonds from these buried treasures. So I decided to look for some more. This child began throwing things at me, so I had to beat him up. No trident, but that's okay because he deserved it. Returning to shore, I found this chicken in dire need of a rescue. I offered him a spot on my boat, and he accepted. No thanks necessary, your dancing says it all. The next day I found another chicken and instantly went to play matchmaker. They seemed happy with each other, and I think their first date went very well. I liked this spot that I found, so it was time to make it home. Before any progress could be made towards my base, I had to clear out the local village. It's not that I don't like the villagers, they just annoy me, and they don't deserve any freedom. I decided to get rid of this iron golem, just in case I accidentally hit any of the villagers, and don't ask me why the bed was there, I wasn't worried. I found that boats were the easiest method of trapping the villagers and getting them where I wanted, so I got 4 of them in a hole and figured that was good enough. Since the villagers wouldn't be needing this hay or these cows, I figured I'd take them for myself. Because of the shipwrecks, I already had enough books for the enchanting table, so I figured a source of food wouldn't hurt. Speaking of enchanting, I wanted more diamonds, so I decided to go out to sea again. I found another village and raided their church and their library, which is something you can only say in this game. Back at base, I cleaned up a little bit and then worked on removing the rest of the village. And with that out of the way, it was time for a before picture. But of course I couldn't get started right away. It was time for another adventure. This time I wanted to find a mangrove swamp, and there was a swamp close to my base, so I figured I'd start looking there. Sadly, I didn't have any luck with the swamp, but I did find this baby turtle. Where are your parents? Along with a couple more buried treasures. This gigantic cave. And finally, a desert temple, with only mediocre loot inside. While looking for more treasure maps, I found the sunken ship guarded by an army of drowned. This trident drowned shot my boat, and I had to use the other drowned as cover. This trident guy had me on the ropes for a long time, and I barely got him. And after all that, he dropped his trident for me. Having my fill with adventure today, it was time to settle down and start some farms. And of course, the first diamond tool I had to make. It was time for a peaceful farmer life. I chose a spot and got to work. I'm gonna need a lot of wheat, so this will be a pretty big field. And here's where we're at now. As you can see, my diamond toe kind of took a beating during this process, but we've got a pretty decent sized field laid out. I'm just kind of waiting on some of the wheat plants to grow up so I can start spreading the wheat seeds around. I've also been breeding up my sheep and my cows. I've got kind of a assortment of white sheep, brown sheep, dark gray, light gray sheep, because all the wool I think will be valuable. And over here you can see I recently pruned the cows down, but I've been getting some resources, and yeah. I also roped up these 2 horses so that they wouldn't trample my crops. And I've been working on flattening out the area around here. I mostly used like the little bits poking out of the ground to fill in some of the areas of the wheat field, but I'm also using this as an opportunity to clear up the area around where I want my base to be. I've also set up a few little starter farms over here to kind of collect some pumpkins for villager trading that we might need down the line, and as well as some potatoes and carrots over here. It's not much for now, but I see a lot of potential with this area, and I'm really excited to base up here. I've got a lot of ideas, and I'm really excited. First order of business, I need to name this chicken that I saved from the sea. I'm thinking the Admiral. I think it's a suiting name, and I think eventually we could probably build him a ship, kind of similar to the sunken ships that we found, and I think that'd be really fitting for him. And of course, Mrs. the Admiral. And speaking of sunken ships, this is all the loot that I got from the sunken ships. I got 12 diamonds. Of course, I used 2 of them for this diamond hoe right here. I got a trident, all this iron, minus like a stack that I accidentally made a bunch of pants with. All these emeralds, gold, TNT, heart of the sea. You can see I opened up 12 buried treasures. Along with that, I also got this silk touch pickaxe, which I used to pick up a bee nest, and just a bunch of loot. Along the way, I also found all these books that I'm going to use to create bookshelves with. Now I won't have to farm up the cows as much. I won't need to farm up as much sugarcane. I can just get to enchanting right as I get to levels. While the loot might be easy to get early game, levels are kind of difficult. Either we go down in the caves, we mine a bunch of ores and we get some levels that way, or we can utilize these guys. Now personally, I love villagers. I think that they're really convenient, but for early game, I think I'd like to go into the caves. And it just so happens that over here, there's a gigantic hole in the ground. I've got some ideas for like a mine shaft type thing that would look really cool in this area, but I think this is where I'd want to start out my mines. And then hopefully while mining we can find some caves, and while caving, hopefully we find some dungeons. Hopefully a skeleton dungeon, or maybe a zombie dungeon, or really any, just to get the XP. Along with the XP we could get in the cave, we're also going to collect a lot of building materials, and building materials means we can start working on all of our projects up here, and that's really what's important, right? I've got my inventory all prepped and ready to go, and now it's time to jump in. Well, maybe that was a mistake. Anyway, let's start right here. I came this entire way without hitting a cave, and that's a little disappointing. I might go back up to Y11 and strip mine at that level, so that way I could run into more caves potentially, but I kind of thought I would run into one doing this. And there we go. That was pretty easy. Definitely should have mined back further. Nope, nope. Ugh. Well, that's kind of embarrassing. And I just realized I had 24 levels on me that are now non-existent. Wonderful. So in case you didn't know, Enderman can reach further than 2 blocks. Well, my ego's only slightly damaged from that. Having only 8 levels is making me seriously reconsider not using villagers for experience. So here's everything we got from the cave, and some building materials as well, and you can see the goal was to get more levels, and I ended up with less levels than I started with. So I might be looking at different avenues for some XP for now. Now, before I turn completely to the dark side of villagers, I figured I'd try one more option, if you can guess what that is. It would be smart to make a bow before I leave, but I only have 1 arrow and I don't feel like sifting through a ton of gravel just to get some flint. So we're just gonna go for it. And no turning back now. So I went through the portal and immediately got bombarded by a ghast, but we spawned in a basalt delta with a nice crimson forest over there, and then on this side, right by the portal, we have another fortress, which I wasn't looking for today, but I'll take it. That's pretty lucky. Usually I get spawned in like a basalt delta or something worse, and this is a pretty lucky spawn. This biome, however, is not very good for quartz, and that's kind of the main reason I was here. I will, however, take some bone blocks. So it is now day 53. I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in on that post-editing, but I have been AFK around here, farming up some pumpkins, and also smelting up some ores. And it's just a little bit of extra XP. I haven't decided yet if I want to use the villagers. I'm pretty indecisive about it at the moment. But considering what day it is, I figured it would be good to get a map of this area and kind of set that up before we get any further into our building process. Okay, so I got the maps made up. I think I'll just start off here, and that's pretty good. So here we are. this is the base before it's the base, kind of a monumental occasion. I don't know how much of this area we'll use, probably not that much. We also have that little island up there, but all this will eventually become my base. So distractions aside, you can see I'm back up to 25 levels, thankfully. Just a few more levels to go. I don't really know. We can either do villagers, we can do the nether again, which would require a lot more exploration, or I can go back down to the caves. And that enderman kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, so I'm not sure how I feel about the caves. Now, considering our nether spawn and the fact that I need some building materials, it's probably best if I head back to the caves. So, let's go. Way back here, I found the first diamonds of the world. Might just be one, though. Oh, 2. There we go. 3. I'll take it. So, after finding a couple of diamonds and reclaiming my dignity from that enderman as you saw, I figured it was time to enchant with the levels that I did have before I inevitably lose them again. My second enchant was a lot better than my first one. With the new fortune pick, it was time to head back into the caves, but I couldn't quite go down into the depths yet because I was low on coal, and you kind of need coal to see, so that led me to find some surface level caves near my base. Those caves led me to this mineshaft you see here, and thankfully the skeleton spawner close to my base. Now don't pay too close attention to my levels. I definitely didn't die from a drop creeper, and didn't die a second time from a creeper that tag teamed in, aka Spider, right after he blew up on me. So, you know, it's not a big deal. Don't pay that close attention to it, please. I did, however, find a ton of copper, and the first stone diamonds, as well as my first other side disc. And of course, the first name tag I got, I had to give it to the Admiral. He was pretty happy about it. And with the diamonds that I got from the caves, it was time to make some upgrades. I was also able to get some mangrove propagules from this wandering trader, which means I don't have to find a mangrove swamp if I want to use the wood. So I found a skelly spawner, and I didn't go through the process of, converting it into an XP farm because, well, A, it's not done yet, and B, I'm sure you guys have seen that a million times. So I just wanted to show you like kind of what the before picture is, and then I'll show you what it looks like after I'm done making it pretty. So this spawner is really close to where I'm basing up, and that's why I picked this one. I found a couple of ones down in the cave, but this one was extremely close to my base, and it's kind of lays nicely in the compound that we're going to have, and it'll be really easy to just throw a building over this and, use it for some quick XP if I need it. So a little bit of an update on the skeleton farm. I've got it all caged off, got the water streams running, and you can see the skeletons dropping down here, and I've been farming them up a little bit. And you can also tell by my levels too. At this point, I don't really know what I want to do down here. I know I want some kind of enchanting down there so I don't have to run back and forth from my base. But in terms of design, I really have no idea what I want to do yet. So I'm just going to sit here and, try and think about it. But I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an update as to where we are. And we're done. So I didn't go for much on the design aspect. Pretty simple with, some deep slate arches, nothing too fancy. I've got the enchantment set up over here. That's pretty much all done. I do want to add some candles in a few places, but over here you can see I've been farming up a couple of tools. Not really anything serious, just kind of in the background while I'm editing this video. And I don't want to do my armor quite yet. I did get a couple of like boot enchantments because I know those can be really hard to come by, but I want to save that for a future episode. And over here you can see I've got the skeletons coming down. Nothing too fancy except there's an item sorter down there that just filters out the bones, and I've been, bone blocks, whatnot. And yeah, it's pretty simple. It brings it down to one hit, just like every other spawner. And yeah. In preparation for my starter house, I was gathering some materials I might use, and I found this chicken jockey that came out of my nether portal. And I decided to trap him because I thought it'd be a cool pet, and I don't know what to name him, so if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. The 2 jungle saplings I collected decided not to drop me any more jungle saplings, so I needed to get more, and that led me to this outpost, where I also found these allays and rescued them. And I found this mansion, so we'll be tackling that in a future episode. Now that we have every wood type, we have every distraction out of the way, we've got a source for XP, it's about time we get a starter house going. Or at the very least an outline going. Now I don't know if I'm going to complete the entire starter house this episode, but I know I want to get it started. And I've been eyeing up this little plot of land for a while now. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do yet, but we do have a bit of room to work with. When I don't really know what to do, I just kind of put blocks down and, start working on a framework and let my brain move from there. I think this I want to be the entryway, but I also want it to be a little bit recessed. So I'm thinking about bringing out a portion over here, and it kind of, pokes out more towards the wheat field and brings it forward a little bit more. I think a tower would go pretty good here, just because it's like a nice rounded area. And I think we'll put the front door there. And I'm thinking this area here could probably be like a nice big hall or something that goes out and kind of overlooks the ocean a little bit. You know what, let's make this a little bit bigger. I think that'll work. I'm also thinking this probably needs to be a little closer this direction. And I think I want to give it this more like gradual cutoff towards the edge of the roof. So because I like to do two thick walls, I decided to expand this out a little bit just by one block on each edge. And so this cobblestone now represents like the inner wall that you're going to see, and then these pillars are going to be the outer wall. But basically this grass will be where the floor is at, and the cobble laid out is where the walls are going to be. I was thinking this room could be kind of like a split level type thing with tall windows, and if need be we can have like a room for stairway downstairs or something like that, but this is the plan right now. Now I want to expand this height across the build here, but this wall would run into the edge of this tower, so I think I'm going to move the tower back just 2 blocks. So here you can kind of see the shape that I want to go with this roof and kind of the size it'll be. This is our entryway. I think is a good start, and it might need to be adjusted a little bit depending on how like the tower develops and how this side room develops. But I think I need to build more in the back area, and I think this roof needs to be capped off somewhere here, or somewhere close rather. I don't think it should get any higher than this, and if it does, not too many blocks higher. But there still needs to be some expansions and like buildings around the back, so I'll work on that now. So I adjusted this roof line and kind of brought it back so that it's 1 block step up, and you can kind of tell like how it'll lead into the next part of the build, which will be up here. And I'm not really sure how this top part of the roof is going to go, but this will be like the highest level of the starter house, I think. Thinking about this a little bit more, I think having this large of a tower might be an issue when it comes to like overwhelming the build from the front. I think the tower would take up too much space, so I think I'm gonna shorten it down to what it was that I began with, which I think means I need to pull this out just 1 more block. So I think this size is a little more manageable. The smaller tower means that we can move the build in a little bit further, which means we don't have to be as clunky with our expansion in the back, which I think is okay. Now, I've got this top section laid out and how far back I want it to go, but we have this kind of corner problem here, which I think I'm going to put a diagonal wall in. I don't really do diagonals in my building, so it could be something fun to try and learn how to do and make look right. But I think, from this corner here to this corner, a nice diagonal wall would fit in well. And then as for this edge of the build, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll figure it out. Turns out that this makes a pretty good diagonal wall, so hopefully it'll be easy to manage the roof and this connecting point. We'll see though. Okay, so I'm redoing a little bit of this. This section here, I brought it out a little bit and then over here a little bit, and I got rid of the diagonal. I'm thinking this section lines up, well, okay, this is the middle part of this jut out section. I kind of want the middle of the tower to line up with it, and I think I'm going to move the entire tower over by 1 block, and hopefully that'll look better. And I also think I'm going to redo this middle portion because this is kind of giving me a lot of problems, and I think I want it to look a little bit different. So I'm going to do that. So I'm having a lot of issues. I don't know what I want to do, and I think a lot of it has to do with this little jut out piece here. As much as I love it and love like the idea behind it and stuff, I think it's just getting in the way of like my brain, if that makes any sense. So I think I'm going to tear this part out and kind of rework this corner here. But over on that side, I added this little section with a little bit of a higher roof, and you can see I also added up like where roughly the tower height's going to be. The outermost sections are like how high the base of the tower is, and then that middle section is about how high I want the roof to be, so you can get kind of an idea of like what the skyline will look like. And I think these roofs here will kind of blend in with the taller tower area, so I think these are fine here, but this room over here is giving me the issues. So okay, yeah, I like that a lot more. I reworked it a little bit. I kind of mirrored the front entryway on this side. That won't be a door, that'll just be, a mirrored section of it. We still kind of have this slow incline of that little rectangular section over there, And then up here, I added like a peak. I'm not the hugest fan of this, but for the time it'll stay. And then out the back, this bit here is the same, but over on this side, I added a straight line roof, and that'll kind of, cut out a little bit. It'll come up really close to the edge and provide a little bit of a breakup between these 2 points here. So I think all in all, this has come together pretty nicely, and where it's at right now, I'm happy with it. In terms of what comes next, I don't have any ideas for build palettes. I have a lot of copper, so I know I want to use copper for like the tower roof, maybe this roof right here, but wood-wise, I don't really know what I want to use. In my hardcore base, I used stripped jungle wood into oak wood into oak planks, and that looked really nice, but I don't really want to do the same thing over again, so I might be playing around with some different build palettes and trying to figure out what I want to do. I know the tower, I'm not going to do wood. That'll be more of like a stony gradient. I might incorporate, it might be a brown tower actually. I could incorporate some of the mud bricks and stuff and kind of get a brown palette going. But other than that, I don't really know what I want to do. But layout wise, I think it's in a really good spot. And if you guys have any feedback on this, please be sure to let me know. With that being said, I think the house is in a great spot right now, and we won't get into finalizing it this episode. That'll be something for next episode, but I've taken a while on this episode, so I figured I'd stop it here and get it out to you guys. So if you have any feedback on this house or what else I should add to it, or if you have any ideas for a build palette, please be sure to let me know. But that has been episode 1 of my survival series. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. It took me a while, but I'm glad to finally be getting it out to you. And yeah, take care and have an awesome day.